Hey, what's up, guys? You're listening to the Airtime Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Adam, as always, alongside Nick.
What's up?
And son of a biscuit, do we got a great episode for you. And this is probably a coaster that we should have talked about like in episode number one, because in my
At,
opinion,
at least.
yeah, this is probably the most infamous defunct coaster. And that coaster is Son of Beast, formerly located at Kings Island. So stick around.
So, Son of Beast at Kings Island was touted as the harebrained creation from American Coasters International. No, what are they called? Hold
It's
on.
like it's RCCA.
Yes, Roller Coaster Corporation of America. I
Yeah,
knew
that's
it.
right.
It was
How can you
something
forget?
generic, right?
Yeah,
The most unmemorable name ever.
right. The most
So
generic name ever. Yeah.
yes, yes. So coming in at a whopping 7,032 feet long, 218 feet tall with a 214-foot drop at a speed of 78.5 miles an hour.
hmm
Wow.
Yeah,
This was a real son of a beast, if you know what I'm saying.
it was. Yeah, when it opened in 2000, it broke a lot of records.
Sure
It
did.
was the world's first wooden hypercoaster. It
Mm-hmm.
was the first wooden coaster in the modern era to feature a loop. It was the
Yes.
tallest and fastest wooden roller coaster, and it was the second longest coaster, only behind its daddy, the Beast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, when it opened, it was a pretty insane endeavor. It was designed by Werner Stingel. I don't know. I think I
Yes.
pronounced that right. He's like a famous coaster designer. He's designed
Mm-hmm.
ton of famous coasters, or helped his firm helped design them,
Mm-hmm.
like Millennium Force Maverick, Kindica, so on and so on. Yeah. So like when Sun and Beast opened, there was nothing else like it.
Yeah. Oh no, not at all. I think the only other thing that this could have been compared to at the time was probably its predecessor in The Beast in terms
Yeah.
of just how unique it was in the experience itself. Like both obviously incredibly long, The Beast still being, I believe, the longest to this day, right?
Yep. Still is. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Um, so yeah, I mean, this turned a lot of heads, and this was a really big move for Kings Island, as they were trying to kind of make their name in the Paramount Park selections, or Paramount Parks family, I'll say.
Right.
Um, so this at the time in 2000 probably made a lot of sense. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, and as we all know, this was the one of the biggest failures in roller coaster history.
Yeah.
This just to me, if I were a Kings Island exec, I would have pulled the trigger on this if it were proposed to me at
Oh,
the time.
same. Well,
Yeah,
at the year 2000, in my opinion, is the greatest year of coaster openings
I
of
completely
all
agree.
time. Here's just a handful of examples. So you had Boulder Dash open at Lake Compounce.
Mhm.
Boss opened at Six
Mhm.
Flags Great Escape.
No, boss is St.
St.
Louis.
Louis. Sorry, that's St.
That's
Louis.
all right.
Yeah, you had Villain and Dominator open at Jaga Lake.
Mhm.
Goliath opened at Magic Mountain, Kraken at SeaWorld, Lightning Racer at Hershey Park, Legend at Holiday World, Millennium Force at Cedar Point, Ravine Flyer at Waldemere, and Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. And that's just, I mean, there's still other ones like Superman open at Six Flags America and
Mhm.
Superman Krypton Coaster at Fiesta Texas.
That was the year of the floorless coaster. That's
Yeah,
where you got Medusa
Medusa
and
also,
yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's insane to think
Scream.
that many great coasters opened all in the same year. And
Absolutely.
so in 2000, I would have been 14 years old, 15
Old
years old.
man. Old
Yeah.
man.
Right. And at that time, like I had pretty much only been to Cedar Point, and I think like Six Flags Great America. So I had never been to Kings Island before, and I knew a little bit about it, but I wasn't like near the coaster enthusiast that I am now. But
Right.
I remember, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe Millennium Force was announced first.
Feel
Yeah,
like.
and like my mind was blown at like a coaster that was gonna be over 300 feet tall, and like
Oh
it was
yeah,
gonna
I
it was
remember
gonna be
that.
the best coaster in the world, and like I couldn't wait to ride it. But then when Kings Island announced Son of Beast, I was
Hmm.
like, oh man, like I kind of think
Yeah.
that could be better than Millennium Force just
Yeah. Oh
because it
yeah.
was so massive looking in that loop. It looked so cool and it was so
Yeah.
different and innovative.
Yeah. And
Like
this was, I mean, yeah, when you look at it from an aerial view, it looks like a mess of lumber.
it
It's
does.
just
Yeah.
it's just massive.
Yeah.
Not only obviously in the height, but just in the length itself. It's a big coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And it really was kind of toe to toe at the time. Obviously not longevity wise, but pretty toe to toe with a lot of other coasters in the Coaster Wars, I'd say, just in terms of being big and long and
Oh
unique
yeah.
and you know. Um,
I could totally see why the park decided to go like take the chance with
yes,
this coaster because
yes,
with the competition was really high at that time. Like you were just like in the middle of the coaster wars
yeah,
and them competing, with Cedar Point being in the same state,
hmm,
like it was a kind of a hit for the fences type of move. And
yeah, it was.
yeah, I think like in hindsight, obviously it was a bad decision, but at the time, like I can definitely see why they thought it was the right decision.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I just thought of this. Interestingly enough, 2000, not only was Cedar Point putting out one of the greatest coasters of all time, but you also got to remember in Ohio, that's when Six Flags purchased Geauga Lake and
Hmm,
they put in all those investments.
you're right.
So my guess is Kings Island, Paramount Parks, I guess it really
Yeah.
was like, oh shit. Like, what
Right.
are we gonna do to be relevant this year?
Mm-hmm.
We're in the new millennium. Feels like everyone else around us is going in with a big bang. Like we have
Yeah.
to come up with something.
Yeah, exactly. And they did. And I would say what they did that year was the most unique and innovative of that year.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sure they had a huge bump in attendance
Hmm.
at the park that year. And
Yeah,
um, but it seemed like even during construction, right from the start, they had issues with the coaster.
yeah. Oh yeah.
The coaster opened in 2000, like we said. But then in the before prior to the summer of 2007, they removed the loop and added the new trains.
Oh, that was all the
Um,
same year. Okay.
yeah, I believe it was. And I think part of the reason for adding the new trains is because it helped make the ride a bit more comfortable. I think it helped it navigate the course a little bit better. So that was their big marketing strategy is like removing the loop and these new trains was to improve the rider's experience on the
Yes.
coaster.
Make it more comfortable because I think they got a lot of complaints about pain
Oh
from
yeah.
the loop specifically.
Yes.
Um, and it really is amazing to see what Kings Island did in that they made the first like the first wooden coaster, modern day wooden coaster with an inversion. They championed that, and then you got companies now like RMC who that's what they do. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
you got so many other companies that have been more or less influenced by the innovation that Kings Island dared to go for.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Like
it was a revolutionary ride for better or worse.
yeah, it was. And even though it didn't even operate for a full decade, I think
Mhm.
it being built paved the way for a lot of the coasters we have now, like by RMC that have all these crazy inversions and out of the box thinking like with what a wooden coaster could do.
Yeah,
So yeah, in a lot of ways, it was sort of the starting point for this like next chapter in coaster building.
yeah, yeah. If I think about just all of the innovations since Son of Beast, it's astronomical. Like there
Oh
have been
yeah.
so many different concepts and ride experiences and
Hmm.
so forth. Um, but I mean, I remember hearing about this when it was being built and just thinking, like, this is the future. Like
Right.
this is unheard of to have
Yeah, I
a
expected
wooden coaster with a loop. Like,
yeah, I expected like there was gonna be more wooden coasters featuring a loop. Like
Me too. That's what I always wondered. Like,
Yeah,
why aren't there more like this?
right. And like I'm trying to think. So was like Outlaw Run, was it that the first coaster, the first actual wooden coaster since Son of Beast to feature an inversion?
I believe, yeah, because it would. The only other one before that was New Texas Giant, and that has no
Right.
inversion.
That has no
Um,
inversion. So
so yeah, I think so.
yeah, like whenever that opened, that was like 15 years later or whatever. Yeah, I expected that, once Son of Beast did open, I was like, okay, this is the future. This is what wooden coasters are going to start
Yeah,
doing now moving forward. But no one ever tried it since, or,
yeah,
after that or since. And like, I'm still waiting for RMC to try it in a full loop inversion. But
yeah. I would love that, like a
yeah,
mid-course Larson loop, you know. Um,
right. Yeah,
but
but
yeah, just one big vertical loop, and just as an homage to the innovators of the past. Like, I don't know, that'd
right.
be cool.
Well, and you have to think, because at the time when they announced that they were going to remove Son of Beast, which was in I think 2011,
Yeah, because it was, as we
2012,
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
RMC really hadn't come to the amusement park landscape yet. Like I can't
no,
remember when New Texas Giant opened.
that was 2012, so right around that time.
Okay, yeah, so maybe if RMC had been around, maybe a few years prior
Yeah,
to that and had a bit of a better reputation and more of like a catalog of coasters, I do
that would have been
think
a shoe-in.
it's a
Yeah.
real possibility, yeah, that we would have seen an
Yeah.
RMC conversion of Son of Beast, which I would love to have seen
Oh
because I
my
think
god.
you could have done so much with that layout.
I
Um,
uh, I know I'm gonna get crucified for saying this, but to be honest, I'd rather that than Banshee any day. I don't like Banshee that much.
oh,
I
same. I
think
feel the same. Yeah.
I feel like a reimagined, like an RMC Son of Beast would be way better for Kings Island
Oh,
than
yeah.
that.
I
So
agree. Yeah, I think yeah, I mean Banshee is fine as far as inverts go. Yeah, it's not anywhere near my favorite. I prefer
no.
like, more of the classic B&M inverts with the old style restraints.
Yeah, those vest
Um
restraints are brutal.
yeah, but it's not bad and I know that's probably a GP pleasing coaster at
Yes.
Kings Island.
It makes sense that it would go in that same plot of land just
Yeah,
because it's eye-catching, it's toward the front of the park, it's yeah.
yeah. And they do pay an homage to Son of Beast in the queue for Banshee where they have like a little fake graveyard and they have a tombstone
Yeah,
for Son of Beast.
yeah,
I still think an RMC Beast, Son of Beast was in that plot of land. I think that's more of like a coaster that brings people from all over the country to come ride rather than Banshee, where
yes,
you can kind of
yes.
ride and invert, every
At any
corner of the
given
United
park,
States.
yeah.
But I think, were
Yeah,
you going to say that the Son of Beast station is still standing?
I was gonna say Outpost 5, it's still
Outpost
there.
5, that's right. And for a number of years, they were using it as for their haunted I forget what they're called, haunted nights or whatever, Halloween weekends event.
Yeah, whatever they call it.
Yeah, and they had I believe it was a wolf themed haunted
Mhm.
walkthrough attraction. I don't think they've done that the last couple of years in that building, but people are still
Yep,
holding out hope that maybe Kings Island will do some sort of homage to Son of Beast using the
yeah,
station, hire RMC to do something. And I still think that like that's possible. I think that the next coaster that Kings Island gets will either be something like an RMC coaster or perhaps a launch coaster like Copperhead Strike. I think those are the two
yep,
types of coasters that they could use the most.
yes.
But I think if you ask most Kings Island enthusiasts, they probably would want something related to Son of Beast.
Yep, 100%, and I'm with them. I grew up on the opposite end of Ohio. I didn't go to Kings Island until I was in my 20s. Um, but, like, I can just imagine the joy I would feel if I were a local and they were putting out something
Yeah,
to pay homage to that coaster that I rode when I was 6, and it was just so crazy. Like,
yeah.
drawing back on that nostalgia to kind of reconnect the fans to the park. It
Hmm.
just seems like a good PR move, you
Oh,
know?
I agree, and that could be RMC's first coaster with a loop. Like I
Absolutely.
think if they're going to do it, you have to have the
It
loop,
it
right?
has to be, yeah, and like, if I were RMCA, I would not do a loop for anyone else until Kings Island hires
Yeah,
me to do it.
absolutely.
It'd be
Yeah.
that iconic.
Oh yeah. I mean, people would love it. Enthusiasts would love it. The GP would love it. Like I think that would be awesome. Yeah, but let's talk about some of the reasons why it closed. So
Yes, there's a
this
lot.
this coaster had issues from the start, like we said. Like even during construction, they had to drop the original construction crew that was building this coaster and replace it with another one.
Yep.
There was delayed openings because of different issues that the state was doing inspections and found a lot of safety issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, so some of the injuries that were reported were pretty serious. Like for I think the most well-known instance was in 2006 when there was a structural failure in the Rose Bowl section of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
There was sort of a slight dip in the track, sort of like a pothole, that
Oh,
the
yeah.
train went over, and all the riders that came back complained about neck pain and back pain. 27 of those people on the ride were transported to a hospital with neck injuries.
Mm.
So Kings Island closed the coaster that day for the rest of the season. That happened in July of 2006, so they closed it for the rest of the season. Another instance, a woman claimed that she suffered a head injury from riding Son of Beast.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about this one.
Yeah, she she claimed, so she wrote it on May 31st, 2009, but she claimed on June 16th, so a couple weeks later, that she suffered from a burst blood vessel in her brain, which put her in the ICU. Kings Island, their stance was, she didn't file a claim or a report the day of, so that they're kind of like, how do we know that she's telling the truth?
Hmm.
But that incident was the final nail in the coffin for Son of Beast.
Yep.
They closed the ride. They inspected the ride. The state of Ohio came and inspected it. They couldn't find any issues with the coaster, so they kind of cleared Kings Island's name. But Kings Island just still never opened the coaster after that, and it sat standing but not operating for several years, 4 years almost,
Yeah.
until they finally announced that it was going to be coming down.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that day. I was very bummed that I never got to write it, but I was also, I kept hearing news story after news story about it in not a good way, and I thought maybe maybe this isn't worth a credit worth getting anyway. So whatever.
Yeah. Well, and here's some more, just like while we're talking about their injuries. So from 2000 to 2009, the Ohio Department of Agriculture recorded 6 incidents which people were injured after riding Son of Beast. Son of Beast recorded more incidents than any other ride in Ohio during that period. Only one of the 6 incidents recorded on Son of Beast, which was a derailment in 2006, was caused by structural issues with the ride itself. Of
Mhm.
the other 5 incidents, 2 riders broke their necks within a 4-week period in 2001.
That's not a
And
good thing.
no. And then a third rider suffered a fractured vertebrae after riding Son
Ooh,
of Beast in 2003. So some pretty
ooh,
serious stuff.
yeah. These aren't your, Advil and sleep it off kind of injuries. These are hospital injuries.
Right.
Um,
And then
so
in 2007, a fourth rider died one day after riding Son of Beast after complaining about back pain. Um,
interesting.
and
Huh.
I don't know if that was ever proven or not, but
Yeah, it'd be hard to confirm that.
that's just what Wikipedia tells us.
Hey, and that's our
Which,
most reliable
right.
resource.
Yeah, if you can't
Yes.
trust Wikipedia, who can you trust?
I would be darned to find the person I could trust if I couldn't trust
Right.
Wikipedia.
And I know
So,
with some of those incidents there were lawsuits filed, and I know Kings Island had to settle out of court with a couple of them and pay some money. It just seemed like it's a miracle that there wasn't more serious injuries with this coaster, like from
no
all
kidding.
the problems they had with construction, and it seemed like every year someone was getting hurt, and it was closed for an extended amount of time for repairs or inspections. Like this thing was just a turd from the start.
Yes, absolutely. It was a very uh like awe-inspiring looking turd.
Hmm.
Uh it was the best looking turd out there, that's for
Oh
sure.
yeah, it looked great. Like, and that's of all the defunct coasters that I haven't been on, this is the my white whale, the one that got away.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
of any coaster that I could bring back to ride just one time, it's this one. And I know like I probably wouldn't enjoy the ride. I know it'd probably hurt, but I would love to ride it in its original form with the original train with the loop. just
Yeah,
once.
that would be fun. Just one time. Yeah, I
Or
do
even
agree with
I would
that.
have loved to have gotten to Kings Island before they tore it down, even just to see it, because I've seen
Yeah,
photos of it from the Midway, and it does look just like so imposing. This just tower of wood,
yeah,
you know, hovering over the Midway there.
yeah.
Um, I would have loved to have ridden it. I don't really know too many people personally that did get to the chance to ride it, but from the people you read about or their stories on the internet, they all say the same thing, that it was not a good ride.
Right.
Like I
Absolutely.
I don't think I've ever come across anyone on the internet that says like it was a great coaster, or they wish it was, still standing, or
No, never. I think more than anything, people appreciate the uh the marvel of it. It
oh
seems
yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
rather than the ride experience
Exactly.
itself.
Yeah.
So
And in true Airtime Misfits fashion, we did track down the original Son of Beast commercial.
absolutely.
This is, oh, yeah, like I've said before, this is one of my favorite things to do, is look at old commercials. So this one came out in 2000. This is still very much in the era of time where these coaster commercials were sort of like a scary movie
Uh-huh.
themed, like where they're, this
Had some
this
ominous plot line to it.
right. So,
Yeah.
and obviously you're listening to this, so you can't see it. So what is happening in this video is it's sort of these like ominous videos of Son of Beast. It's like stormy clouds, and then you just see like the
Uh,
silhouette of the coaster, and
uh-huh.
there's this creepy looking stroller sitting on top of the coaster. So I'm guessing because it's the Son of Beast.
Yeah, that would make
So
sense.
just imagine that while you listen. All right, let's see. So this is the commercial for Son of Beast, which aired in prior to 2000.
Its father spread pandemonium throughout the Midwest. Its arrival will thrill a nation. Its legacy is destined
Oh,
to change
graphics.
the world. Presenting Son of Beast.
Yeah.
The world's tallest, fastest,
Ooh.
only looping wooden roller coaster. Son of Beast.
So
Hell yeah.
horrible.
I mean,
Horrible.
it's cool. I mean, yeah, I mean the commercial's
So
cheesy, and
low budget.
it's
You know,
just
like
I wanted them to like push the stroller down the hill at least.
yeah.
So it would go down.
Yeah,
It's like the
that'd be awesome.
stroller with all these chains in it. It's like a antique looking creepy stroller with chains in it.
Oh
Anyways,
my
and
gosh.
and that's another thing. Like I get like it was supposed to be like the second coming of Beast, but the name was sort of lame. Son of Beast.
So lame. But you know what? I'll say it's more creative than Iron anything.
Oh yeah,
or
then
or
Iron
Twisted.
Beast, or yeah, Twisted. Yeah, yeah. Well, if RMC came in, it would be like Twisted Beast, or
Yeah.
whatever word they want to slap in front of Beast.
Yeah. Twisted
But
Iron Beast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like I really wish I got the chance to ride this before it was gone. I kick myself for not getting down to Kings Island sooner, because it is a great park, especially I would say since Cedar Fair took it over. They've really added a lot to the park, and not that Paramount did a bad job, but I think Cedar Fair did a good job of making this park stand apart from other parks, rather than just being, a clone of the other Paramount parks. So
Oh yeah. They really made it have its own personality, I'd say. So
yeah, and I still think that at some point Kings Island will do something to pay an homage to Son of Beast. I think it's just a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised though if it's their next coaster.
yeah, I think
I
probably
think
where
it
Vortex was.
Yeah, it's either going to be where Vortex was, or where Son of Beast, sort of between the Bat and the Banshee, where Son of Beast
Yeah, way
station
back
is.
in the
You got some
weeds.
room back there, so I think it's
Yep.
gonna be one of those two. I think there's, a reason why they're keeping the station around. So
Yeah, I
we can
completely
hope.
agree. I can
Yes,
only hope, yes.
yes.
So,
So thanks so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Airtime Misfits. Go back and listen to our old episodes. Even if they're old, they're still fun to listen to.
we're pretty
And
fun guys.
yeah, we're some fun guys. And yeah, we'll be back soon with another episode. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you later.
See ya.